Ladies and gentlemen, tonight another political scoop here right on the news are documents that reveal intense scrutiny on the channel. It talks about the Gandhis income tax department escaping taxes by the Gandhis. Before I reveal any more, let's take a look at the headlines. But let me also tell you the debate on Rahul Gandhi versus Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Rahul Gandhi's misogynistic comment against Nirmala Sitharaman, the defense minister of the country, are blowing out of proportion. Rahul Gandhi has just reacted, and that's debate number 2, ladies and gentlemen, at 9:30 p.m. tonight. But first up, let's take a look at the top headlines making news this evening. Stay tuned to Times Now. Documents out for the first time on national television. Why tax trouble mounts for the Gandhis.
What happened between then the election results, now the exit polls? What happened?
Is this the mindset that you have? This is the kind of bill that you are amending the constitution for?
Fierce face-off over the 10% reservation bill in the House of Elders. Opposition accuses government of misleading people, seeks to know how government will generate jobs. Voting on the bill in just the next 45 minutes.
कहता है सीतारमन जी, आप मेरी रक्षा कीजिए, मैं अपनी रक्षा नहीं कर पाऊंगा.
Massive controversy over Rahul Gandhi's sexist comment against Defence Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. Women's panel set to show cause Congress President. Trouble for cricketer Hardik Pandya, who objectified women on television with his lewd and sexist remarks. BCCI mulls punitive action.
You're watching the News Hour at 9.
Ladies and gentlemen, the papers that I have in my hands are going to send ripples across the political corridors of power tonight. Times Now has accessed not one but 2 separate notices that have been sent to Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi, which make a demand of a whopping 186 crore as tax arrears, which the income tax department claims were evaded by the Gandhis for the assessment year 2011-2012. While the case is being heard in the Supreme Court, the income tax department insists that it has not been stopped by the court to assess the Gandhis, while the Congress continues to insist that this is an assessment error. As the tug of war continues inside and outside the courtroom, what's important to note is the fact that the court has allowed the notice to be filed, but pointed out that the income tax officials that no coercive action can be taken, and this notice will not have any impact on the outcome of the case pending before them. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me first show you the notice number 1. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the notice number 1, and let me show you. This notice goes out to Shri Rahul Gandhi, number 12 Tughlaq Lane, New Delhi. This is the notice that goes under section 156 of the Income Tax Act of 1961. The PAN number is here. We've deliberately masked the PAN number so that privacy of Rahul Gandhi can be maintained, and this PAN number is not shown to you, but look at this. This is to give you notice that for the assessment year 2011-2012, a sum of 93 crore 15 lakhs 25,580. So, ladies and gentlemen, 93.15 crores. That's the tax notice that's gone on to Rahul Gandhi for the assessment year 2011-2012, because Mr. Rahul Gandhi was hiding all the income that was accruing to him from AJL, the company that actually owns the 400 crore properties in the National Herald case. Going across to my colleague Nikunj Garg, who joins the show. Nikunj, clearly Rahul Gandhi gets this notice of a 93 crore tax that has been evaded. It's called escaped income tax by the Department of Income Tax.
Well, absolutely, Navika. That is the Income Tax Department's claim. And as always, I would maintain that we are not the adjudicators. What we are doing is we are putting in public domain for our viewers to look at the notices and arrive at a conclusion themselves. For last 1 week, these notices have been highly contested. As you said, a matter has reached Supreme Court. Mr. P. Chidambaram, former finance minister, defending lawyer for Gandhis, have been very stoutly contesting the claims made by the department, going to the extent of saying that the department has not applied its mind while issuing the notices, and CBDT has already withdrawn the circular under the Section 156 of the Income Tax Act. Therefore, these notices are null and void. Supreme Court, obviously, as you said, allowed the department to go ahead. The department maintains they have a fit enough case. They also maintain that important point here is that this is in the category of escaped income not declared by the SSC themselves while self-assessing the income, and therefore not only Mr. Gandhi, Mrs. Sonia Gandhi and Mr. Oscar Fernandez have also been served these notices. But important point, Navika, as a journalist covering the story, we cannot escape is the fact that in the matters of high political figures, when the top political figures of the country are concerned, and this is a standard that I, as a professional journalist, and most professional journalists, actually all of them nearly, would apply to all political figures. Probity is important. Propriety is important. I mean, absolutely. Whether or not legally, as Mr. Chidambaram claims,
Nikunj, let me also show you document number 2 to our viewers. This, ladies and gentlemen, is that document. Let's look at this figure here. This is the figure, and ladies and gentlemen, this figure, 92,090 lakhs 91,830 crores. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the tax that has to be paid, and this is the tax that needs to be paid to by Miss Sonia Gandhi. This is exactly what the income tax notice really says. This is the tax that has to be paid by Sonia Gandhi. This is a notice on the 31st of December, gives 30 days. It's been put at the moment on hold, no coercive action. But this is the 92 crore tax that has to be paid by Sonia Gandhi at 10 Janpath, New Delhi. The question is, once again, the year 2011-2012, for which this 92 crore 90 lakhs 91,000 have to be paid by Sonia Gandhi. So between Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi, it's 93.15 crores and 92.90 crores, which works out to clearly 186 crores that the Gandhis owe the Income Tax Department. Just why were they hiding all this income all this time, Nikunj?
Well, Navika, yes. As I was finishing my first point, I was maintaining the fact that when the top political figures are concerned, the standards of propriety and probity are more important. The fact is, it may be so in the legalese that they were not obliged to declare. But when you are the top political figures of the country, what is the harm if you think that the assessment will be complete? What is the harm in putting it out in the public domain? Why not, if there is a financial transaction, put it in your income tax assessment? And if the transaction volume is so voluminous, so huge, any other individual, any other normal ordinary tax assessee would be assessed by the department and would certainly be asked to disclose those incomes, irrespective of the fact whether those organizations were charitable or not. And in case of political figures, as I said, propriety is important, and probably legalese is not that important. And therefore, in terms of probity of highest possible standards, they were in the public eye obliged to declare those incomes. At least that's how the public perception would see it.
Nikunj, thanks very much for joining me on this big news hour breaking story. The story of 186 crore tax liability of the Gandhis That is the matter before the Supreme Court. The hearing for this case comes up on the 29th of January. And ladies and gentlemen, on the news are tonight, my legitimate question: can the Gandhis continue to deny and evade tax any longer? That's the question, and that's the big debate that's coming up on the other side.
You're watching the News Hour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
And joining me tonight on debate number 1, Gandhi's tax notice. I'm joined by Nalin Kohli, national spokesperson of the BJP, Dr. Ajay Alok, spokesperson of the JDU, Ishkaran Bhandari, advocate of the Supreme Court, Ashutosh Mishra, senior journalist, Abdul Razak Khan, political analyst, and Vikas Gupta, lawyer, who's going to take on Nalin Kohli on the first segment that's called the Standpoint. And Mr. Vikas Gupta, you're an advocate. I want to ask you just this simple question. 186 crore worth of tax liability, and the Gandhis talk about probity in public life. Mr. Rahul Gandhi is out there questioning everybody about the Rafale deal. The question is, as far as their own personal tax liability is concerned, this is personal. In the Rafale deal, he's not been able to come up with one single naya paisa allegation personally against the Prime Minister. So I want to ask you, Mr. Vikas Gupta, shouldn't Mr. Rahul Gandhi and Mrs. Sonia Gandhi be looking first inwards at their own tax liabilities and the monies that they owe the government of India, in fact the National Exchequer?
Navika, if all the income tax assessment needs to be believed in this country, then there would be no income tax litigation amounting to 9 lakh crores pending at various levels, right from the tribunal to the High Court and to the Supreme Court. Let me remind you one thing, that this assessment pertains to a period of 2011 and 12, as mentioned by you earlier in your show. And no valid notice was issued during the period of limitation. One more thing which I need to bring out to your notice is that Young India, all the tax exemption which they were enjoying for all these years were withdrawn. And what is this tax liability amounting to? Acquiring 1900 shares in Young India, where there is a loss of 90 crores, and in the wisdom of the income tax department, if they think that there is a asset base of 407 crores, and on the basis of which they said that you did not declare it in your personal income tax return, where section 56 to subclause 8 subclause A, that notice which was there up till that circular up till 31st December was unilaterally withdrawn by the income tax department, where it demonstrates it's a political vendetta. So what one needs to understand, that whatever the income tax department say, if we're going to take it as a gospel truth, all the politicians or the business or the industrial houses in this country should cough up more than 9 lakh crore rupees, which is at various levels of investigation and pending in various courts. And the income tax department, let me also tell you, is the biggest litigator in this country, where the apex court has also come down heavily on them, that all the litigation...
Your time is up. Your time is up. And since you're an advocate, let me tell you, this whole case has been heard in the High Court as well.
Yes.
Where both Rahul and Sonia Gandhi have lost the case. But I hand over the floor to Mr. Nalin Kohli to counter the charges made by Mr. Vikas Gupta.
I think this is going to be a semi-legal argument, almost converting this into a court, because as an advocate, I'd like to remind Mr. Gupta that we should not forget this is a case of reassessment under Section 148 of the Income Tax Act. What's the basic story? The basic story is that AJL, and this involves Young India, which means the Associated Journal Press, the entire assets shifted to Young Indians, which is a company promoted primarily, maybe a Section 25 company, but basically with Mr. Rahul Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi as the primary shareholders, and Oscar Fernandez ji and others and a few more with additional shares. Now the assets of this company, which was assumedly making losses and had been started for newspaper printing, were running into a few thousand crores. So here's a situation: the Congress party lends money and the Congress is not a bank. It lends money to run the paper at AGL. AGL writes it all up and transfers everything to Young Indian, which is a private company, no matter what be it. So the share quantity is not important of 1900 shares. What is important? The asset transfer at a paltry sum. And that is exactly where the reassessment comes into play. And the circular that he is referring to, that Mr. Chidambaram has already argued in court, that has also been stoutly defended by the government, by Mr. Tushar Mehta, the Solicitor General. So I think we need to understand that everyone has equality before law under Article 14. The same applies in reverse. No one can claim special privileges if they are being investigated for what may be seen as omissions and commissions in terms of how they are presented their income tax returns. So if there are income tax returns under litigation, there are also out of that litigation income tax returns that have been reassessed by the courts. In this, up to
your
the High Court.
Your time is up, Nalin Kohli. Nalin Kohli, your time is up. The question here is, should Caesar's wife be above suspicion? That's the basic question in politics. And in politics, it's very important that political leaders at least have their own balance sheets absolutely above any suspicion, above any question. So, Ashutosh Mishra, between Rahul Gandhi and Ms. Sonia Gandhi, it's 186 crore worth of escaped taxes. Can you explain to this country that the two people who are the most powerful people talk about a period 2011-2012 when they were part of the ruling party which was in power, and they had all these share transfers, they had all these loans that were being given, they had all these accessibility to various properties of the National Herald case. And now when the income tax department asks for certain taxes that has been evaded, you suddenly think this is vendetta?
So as a journalist, there are some more facts that I would like to bring before the nation. First of all, the tax that you are talking about is on presumptive profit. The December 31 circular that Mr. Gupta was talking about had said that the fresh shares that are issued are not covered, they cannot be taxed. And in case of AGL, that's what has happened. The first income tax officer had decided that they are not taxable. Suddenly on March 31st, 2018, after the Rafale scam had surfaced, the income tax department decided that they want to reopen this assessment. And we should remember that in National Herald case, the Gandhis are on bail, on a procedural bail. It's because it's a criminal complaint filed by a private citizen, not because they have tax chores. No, that's a false lie that's being propagated. Coming back to this particular case, all that High Court has said or the Supreme Court has said till now, where you were talking about the Gandhis losing, is that the income tax department has the right to reopen the case. It can reassess. That's all. Nowhere has any court said that this tax demand is true. Absolutely. So there is no case of tax chori here. It's a case where these people are being harassed by the powers that be, and the income tax department is just trying to help what I would say is a gentleman who has a political grudge against the Gandhis and has filed a private complaint.
Well, may I, Mr. Ashutosh Mishra, also bring up a fact in this case. May I read out to you the observation of the High Court judgment in this particular case. The High Court said, in the case of Mr. Rahul Gandhi, no doubt the assessment originally completed was under section 143(3). If he had disclosed his returns or any related documents about the event, which is the share acquisition, the primary fact would have been on his record. The fact is Rahul Gandhi hid this information from the assessment officer, and the assessment officer's subsequent action in pursuing that aspect or letting go of it after inquiry might well have justified the charge of a second and impermissible opinion of the same subject. So, आप तो facts छुपा रहे थे,
and according
आप तो facts छुपा रहे थे.
According to December 31 circular, according to December 31 circular, this was not taxable. तो छुपा क्या रहे थे? जब कोई टैक्स ही नहीं था तो उसमें छुपाना क्या था?
Now under challenge in Supreme Court.
Non-profit company. Non-profit company. Ishkaran and Nalin Kohli both want to come in. Yes, Mr. Nalin Kohli, and then I'm coming to Ishkaran Bhandari.
Navika.
Well, I mean, let's also bear another fact in. This whole thing actually with AGL, and if I recall, Times Now had broken this story, where it was shown that some Calcutta company had transferred an amount to Mr. Rahul Gandhi to acquire these shares. There was some undated letter or something like that, and then that had to be returned too. So the entire transaction was a sort of a sweet deal. A deal where, in the first place, why was the need for Mrs. Sonia Gandhi or Mr. Rahul Gandhi and others to acquire AGL and all its assets that were actually in the public domain for public work through this entire deal of money which went through to that?
जो CBDT का circular है वो तो withdraw हो गया. आप ये बताइए आपने ये facts hide क्यों किए?
Somebody has a heart attack. You can't believe that if he has a headache, you have to ignore the fact that he had a heart attack.
1 minute, one at a time.
Because of political vendetta.
Political vendetta. Ajay Alok, political vendetta.
So therefore, Rafael is a manufactured scam.
अगर ये राफेल के बारे में कहें, तो that is political sweetness. But if the income tax department takes action against Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi, it becomes political vendetta.
Ashutosh Mishra ji, it's really surprising that all the 24 hours these days for the last 6 months, Mr. Rahul Gandhi has been talking about garibo ka paisa Modi ji ne udyogpatiyon ko de diya. And look at Rahul Gandhi, he's making an income of 330 crores. That's why he has to pay a tax of 300 crore is evasion, on which the tax has been calculated as 93 crore. If I assume 30% of the tax bracket to be. So what kind of a garib and what kind of a garibi talks? Now imagine this case is of 2011 and 12, right? 11 and 12 until 14, nothing happened if you say political vendetta. This case was taken up by the income tax authorities 2 years back and Rahul Gandhi lost it in High Court. How can be political vendetta? Had it been a political vendetta,
right,
the High Court would have rejected it.
Remember that.
Because in court, you go with facts and figures. In court, you go with facts and figures, you don't go with rhetorics. So right now what you're talking, it's a political vendetta, it's nothing but rhetorics.
High Court has just said that they can reopen it.
Needs to be decided by the
High Court, you lost it in High Court, so you have a right to appeal in Supreme Court, that's what you have done. It's just a time cover what you're buying for yourself.
The challenge on the point of notice. Right has been proved.
You're challenging the supremacy of High Court.
That's why the affidavits are being filed now.
And what now remains before the apex court is that how the income tax department will do the circular.
This tax department is
it is outside the purview of section 56, which is all the debate is all about in the apex court.
Ishkaran Bhandari, पहले तो आप इनको समझा दीजिए कि ये हाई कोर्ट में क्या हारे हैं और क्या income tax department जीता है before we move any further, because they are saying they have not lost the case in the high court.
नाविका, मैं यहाँ पे दो बातें बोलना चाहूंगा. पहली बात तो एक अजीब सा टर्म सुना आज मैंने, प्रोसीजरल बेल पे हैं राहुल गांधी, सोनिया गांधी प्रोसीजरल बेल पे हैं. एक क्रिमिनल केस में वो आरोपी हैं, वो समन्ड हैं कोर्ट के सामने क्रिमिनल केस में, जिसमें उनको हाई कोर्ट से भी राहत नहीं मिली, सुप्रीम कोर्ट से भी राहत नहीं मिली, तो वो बेल पे क्रिमिनल केस में बाहर है. क्रिमिनल केस में कोई प्रोसीजरल बेल नहीं होती है.
क्यों नहीं बताते हैं आप?
ये दूसरी बात कि वो क्रिमिनल केस में बाहर है. दूसरी बात, इस केस में हुआ क्या है, प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड, योर व्यूअर्स शुड नो that Congress allegedly gave a loan of 90 crores. Allegedly. That has not come on record. Congress has not got any document on record showing that it's a 90 crore loan they have given. So that maybe you will have a breaking story some days down the line. Second point here is that this 50 lakhs by which Young India purchased the right to recover the loan was also loaned by a Calcutta company called Dotex. That transaction is also being investigated by the Enforcement Directorate. So that is also a separate point. Third point
Bhandari,
is
let's
that
talk
once you
about
acquire
the
all
tax
these
demand.
shares,
isn't it on presumptive profit?
on the tax demand,
the
once you
income tax
acquire
department has
on the
levied
tax
this tax
demand,
based
on the tax demand,
on presumptive
Yes.
profit, which its own circular says that these shares are not to be taxed. And that's why the affidavits are being asked,
No,
so
Navika,
that the
once what
Supreme
they
Court
have-
they can take a final decision on where the department stands and where Mr.
That is not the point
Rahul
here.
Gandhi and
Point
Sonia
here
Gandhi
is
stand.
that once
Let's not mix up
once you
issues.
acquired these
We are
shares
discussing
and
about
via
180
these shares
crore tax
you
demand.
acquired all these assets belonging to AJL and you did not
And
declare
that's
these
Abdul
assets
Razak
acquired via
Khan,
the
Abdul
shares.
Razak Khan, I want to ask you a
Why
simple
did you not
question.
declare it to the
You
When,
are
Income Tax
mixing up
Authority?
when Mr. Rahul Gandhi goes across
did you
the
not declare it
country
income
talking
tax?
about
Because
the
they were not-
Rafale
they were
scam
not needed
without
to.
a piece of paper in his hand, without a single shred of evidence against anybody in the Modi government, against Mr. Modi, against any official, against any other minister, no evidence whatsoever. एक अनिल अंबानी का नाम ले लेके वो सब जगह ढिंडोरा पीटते जा रहे हैं, कोई एविडेंस नहीं है. यहाँ there is evidence. There is evidence of a 90 crore loan given by Congress party to AJL, and there is evidence of tax that is being avoided. 93 crore tax avoided by Rahul Gandhi, 92 crores by Mrs. Sonia Gandhi. Why should the country let go of this 186 crore tax liability of these two individuals?
First of all, Navika, the Honorable Supreme Court has asked them to file an affidavit by clarifying the valuations, which they will do. And now coming to what Nalin Kohli ji said in his standpoint, you know, he rightly said equality before law under Article 14. I would like to present to you Temple Enterprises, which with an investment of 50,000 makes 80 crores and the case does not come up at all. Alright, that is one thing. Second point I want to bring to you, 8 months ago, a Congress MLA in Karnataka safekeeps Gujarat MLAs. Such a coincidence that he has had an IT raid. And then Akhilesh Yadav stitches an alliance with BSP. Such a coincidence, there is a IT raid on him. So this coincidental Sarkar is not here to remain. People will reply back to them. They've already replied on December 11th. People will definitely reply back to the next 100 days, which they will definitely see. I am saying these BJP people do not have anything to talk about their achievements. They are just making a plane out of a pin in even small issues and small cases like this. What I am trying to say that Young Indian is a non-profit organization. So if those shares are taxable or not, the court will decide.
No.
So why create a wrong narrative
by the High Court?
Wrong message to the whole nation that
non-profit-
Gandhi's चोर हैं, bail पे हैं.
अरे तो
What
वो
do you
सारा
think
टाइम
about
कह सकते
non-profit
हैं
was
कि
rejected by the
चौकीदार
High Court.
चोर है, मोदी चोर है, लेकिन 186 करोड़ 186 करोड़ टैक्स अवॉइडेंस के ऊपर कोई कुछ नहीं कह सकता.
Yeah. Navika, this one
Affidavit
point
देंगे
here.
ना Supreme Court
Again
को.
and again they are saying it. Young
इससे
India was
पहले बीजेपी के
non-profit.
प्रवक्ता
This
को
was
affidavit पेश
rejected by
करते
the
हैं.
High Court. This non-profit business was rejected by the High Court.
Sir,
already it has been rejected by the High Court.
is a
So please don't say it was a non-profit.
organization. So all the shares held by
It
them
was rejected by the High Court. Your exactly same argument was rejected by the High Court. Please read the judgment and then come here.
The
On the
Supreme Court
specific
has asked for
point,
an
it was
affidavit, they
rejected
will
by the
file
High
it
Court.
soon. You answer to me on
a
Jai Shah's
specific
case,
point of there being
Temple
non-profit.
Enterprises.
Young
How
India
far
being
has the case
non-profit was
gone?
rejected by the
Where
High
did he
Court.
get 80 crores from? You, when you are asked questions on Rafale deal, you hide behind
You
other
talk
service
the
lines.
case which is in
Why
front
can't
of
you
the
answer
Nalin
nation.
Kohli,
You talk the
Nalin
case
Kohli,
which is in front of the court.
Nalin
You talk about the
Kohli,
case
is this
which
the
has been
vendetta
issued.
charge? Is this the vendetta charge?
talk about
And the
the case
question,
issued.
and the question that will always be asked of the BJP
Talk about
government,
the case where you know the
why do all of this only after the Rafale scam actually surfaces? Why do all of this on the eve of elections when you had 4.5 years to take any action that you deemed fit?
Okay, first of all is, every time an allegation was asked against the Congress party during the tenure when the UPA was there, they would say law will take its own course. Now the procedures of law sometimes are slow. One argument was made that Christian Michel, who's been brought back from Dubai, has been brought at the time of elections, after he failed in all his legal remedies in international courts. And Narendra Modi's government kept chasing it and chasing it. We won it, he came back. Now the third point to it is, all this talk that's happening about vendetta, please read the judgment of Justice Bhatt in the Delhi High Court. It's a reasoned judgment. It point by point says why the reassessment under 148 is correct. Then this argument about the CBDT in the circular that's being raised. The CBDT has a right to take out a circular and under section 119 has a right to withdraw it. Why withdraw it? The matter is sub judice. If a matter is sub judice and you bring a circular, that itself is running foul of the legal process. So I think, you have to look at things like this. These are arguments of convenience that are made. The easiest thing to do is to explain what was the need to take over AGL and have all its assets from public basis
Could you please
brought into
also
private
illuminate
ownership.
the nation
It is as simple
about
as that.
Temple Enterprises Private Limited? Sir, could you also, you rightly said Article 14, could you also illuminate the nation about Temple Enterprises Private Limited? How can somebody make 80 crores by an investment of 50,000 in just about 9 months?
Let me also tell you 1 minute. Abdul ji, I'll give an answer to you. Abdul ji, this I call with due respect. It's not your fault. You are not an advocate after all, I presume, like some of us practice in courts. You can't use an Article 14 or the Constitution as a football to create an argument that's not untenable in law. So I am talking about AGL, you say under Article 14 talk about that. I mean, that's an argument.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, one thing is clear, the political football will continue, but it is here, these two documents, the tax notices to Sonia Gandhi at 10 Janpath, the tax notice to Rahul Gandhi at 12 Tughlaq Lane, both of 93 crores and 92 crores, on which the Supreme Court will take a decision. While for the moment the Supreme Court has said no coercive action, the fact is the Supreme Court has not stayed the Income Tax Department's assessment of this order. And that's why we are right in saying that 186 crore is owed by the Gandhis to the National Exchequer. Will we see a judgment on that soon? Will 186 crore Kim come back into the National Exchequer soon? That's the big question. Thanking all my panelists, but I request Nalin Kohli as well as Ashutosh Mishra and Abdul Razak Khan to stay with us for debate number 2 that's coming up on the other side as Rahul Gandhi mocks